I've accomplished a lot with the new radio, but I've kind of run into a couple of little stopping points right now. When I turn on the radio, you're going to hear that it's using Yahoo telemetry now, and then it's going to go into the recruit model and set up for flight.
Yahoo telemetry ready. Welcome to OpenTX. Takeoff. Stabilize mode. Expo off. High rates. Disarmed.
And within this, I have iNav telemetry set up in the radio. And when I get an iNav flight controller up, I will transfer telemetry from that flight controller to this screen. I have Yahoo telemetry loaded up. Just a second. Yahoo telemetry is more for Ardu pilot, Ardu plane, Ardu copter, all of those. Then straight iNav. The iNav is a separate widget.
Welcome to OpenTX.
So I have them both here. Here we go. That came up on that screen. So that would be the front screen. The iNav telemetry widget. This would be the Yahoo. That would, like I say, works better with Ardu Pilot, they say. I'll have to try them both out. And this, of course, has 3 different screens. I'm switching a switch up here to switch between the 3 screens that the Yahoo telemetry reads. And then we have Yahoo Maps, which again, this one doesn't do much right now because of one of the dead ends I've come to. I've got to get more than just a crossfire transmitter and receiver working. I've got to get a flight controller running that can send me telemetry data, and I've filled up the SD card in the radio. I'll have another SD card in here in the next 2 or 3 days, and we'll solve that problem by swapping out the 250 megabyte card that comes with it with a 32 gigabyte card that should hold me for a little while longer than the 256 megabyte card. When I started working with the maps and putting in map data, that's when I ran out of space. But now I have to get a flight controller up and running, and I've chosen a 765 wing again. We'll just turn this off, move that aside. It's a Maytech 765 wing flight controller from Race Day Quads. I chose it because it will work with both iNav and Ardu Pilot. So either one. Kind of got this as a second one of these I've got. I got another one for the Caprahenia 2, which is over there in the build box. I'm pretty much going to put pins on all of this and work it up basically to be my bench flight controller. Seeing it does both. So I'll get started on this, pinning it up and getting a Crossfire Nano RC transceiver connected to it. Start getting some telemetry back and forth. These are all the pins that come with it for if you want to put these on, which I do in this case. So we've got that. I've also got a little M8Q GPS, also TX16s that I'm going to put on this flight controller. Got to have GPS data going between the flight controller, the RC receiver, and the radio to be able to test mapping on the radio. So this is the minimum requirements: a flight controller and a GPS. Come out wherever you are. There we go. Oops. And there it is. Nice little small one. So we'll connect this GPS into this Maytag 765 wing, put some pins on it, and connect it to a crossfire receiver, and see if we can transmit telemetry data back to the screen on the radio, as well as to my ground station. Well, there we go. I soldered on ground, voltage, transmit and receive pins on 3 UARTs right here, serial ports on the 765 wing board. Now I've got to put the little board back together, and we'll see what we can do with those 2 ports. That should be one for a RC receiver, transceiver in this case, and another one for a GPS, and yet another one for the MavLink back, a different way of transferring data we'll get into here shortly. This is the little daughter board on top of the 765 wing. I've got the little bottom mounting plate back on it with the little rubber vibration dampeners. Now there's 3 wires sorted from these 3 solder pads right here to these 3 solder pads right here on this, and then those wires are folded and this is put back on the top, and this top board becomes really the power distribution board for everything in truth. The ESCs are soldered onto these solder pads here, and the battery is actually, the battery's sorted on right here, and then there's 2 ESC connections. These 4 pads right here are a positive ESC connection, and a negative ESC connection, and this is negative battery and positive battery. I'm going to be running it off USB for the time being, so at some point I do have to solder these 3 and these 3 together so that we get some really killer voltage regulation and power distribution from this top board. I'm just going to go ahead and screw it back on now, just keep everything together for now. Well, there it is, fully back together, just like it came. A little mounting plate on the bottom, doesn't do anything but mounting. The flight controller in the center, the power distribution, power regulator board on top. I took it apart to solder in these 12 pins right here. So now I'm going to have to connect to the USB, get it flashed up to the current firmware, and then we'll plug in our crossfire receiver and see what we can get straight up. Okay, so I've got the firmware upgraded and everything. I've got everything wired up here, 4 pins, ground voltage, CRSF transmit going to the receive. Actually, that's the receive, and this is the CRSF transmit here, I do believe. Okay, the white one's transmit and the orange one's receive. So that's how it's hooked up. And excuse all the wire, that's just some of the prototyping stuff I have around here. Little receivers right there. We'll power up the 765 wing. This is not the right order. You should always power your transmitter up first, but we're going to go ahead and power it up now.
Yahoo telemetry ready. Welcome to OpenTX. Takeoff. Stabilize mode. Expo off. High rates. Disarmed.
Oops. So now you can see on the radio, when I go over to the iNav telemetry, if I pick up the autopilot and rotate it, that data is being sent back from the Crossfire receiver to the Yahoo, well, actually the iNav telemetry widget in the radio. So there we are. We have a Crossfire Nano transceiver, technically, working CRSF into a 765 wing, and we're getting back telemetry into the radio from the receiver. Now, we were getting some telemetry before, just straight from the receiver when I had it on other things. By the way, if we go into the Yahoo Ardu Pilot part of the radio, it doesn't do a thing when you move the autopilot. So it does communicate MavLink, and this app and the next one in the radio, this one will not work until I get an Ardu Pilot type autopilot working on a Crossfire receiver. So we're back to here and here. So now my next step is to get a GPS running on the 765 wing and see what happens here. I forgot to mention, in the telemetry portion of the model, I did a discover new sensors, and I had 10 in here before I hooked it to the flight controller just straight from the Crossfire receiver. Now I have an additional 9, it looks like, for a total of 19 now. So when I get the MavLink data connected in and get a GPS running, it'll be interesting to see how many I have at that point. Well, now I have the GPS hooked to the 765 wing via UART2, and it is working.
GPS lost. GPS good. Ready to fly. GPS lost. GPS good. Ready to fly. GPS
Not
lost.
well,
GPS good.
as you
Ready
can
to
hear.
fly. GPS lost. GPS
The radio's
good. Ready to
complaining with the phone that close to the GPS. I was affecting its signal, and it's flipping between 5 and 6 satellites right now here in the basement. But now that I've got the
GPS lost.
GPS down to 4, 5 satellites, it'll
GPS good.
6,
Ready to fly. GPS lost. GPS
5.
good. Ready to fly. GPS lost. GPS good. Ready to fly.
Need to get it finding a few more satellites so it doesn't flip back and forth. Anyway, so the GPS and the Crossfire Nano receiver are both working on
GPS
serial
lost.
ports, UART ports. The Nano receiver is running CRSF into the 765 wing on serial port 6. Compass is going in serial port 2, 115 200 baud rate. And now we do have
GPS good, ready to fly.
data on our radio. You can see GPS coordinates here. If we
Ready
go
to fly. GPS lost.
into the
GPS
WAPU
good,
app,
ready to fly. GPS lost.
it's showing GPS data here.
GPS good, ready to fly.
It's also starting to get some map data in the screen. Nope, that doesn't work. There we go. That's pretty close to correct where it's showing on the map. Just changing zoom levels here. That zoom level, some of the map icons aren't there, but on the lower zoom levels it does show correctly. And let's see, over on the WAPU map, I think we have the same situation where, yeah,
GPS lost. GPS good, ready to fly. GPS lost.
the WAPU maps is showing good map data now and a good location. And I can switch between 3 zoom levels. And again, the closest zoom level has problems. I have to work on that data. But that is working 100%.
GPS good, ready to fly.
Just need to get the correct map tiles in there.
GPS lost. GPS good,
And
ready
that's
to
it.
fly. GPS lost.
Back to the model
GPS
screen.
good, ready to fly. GPS lost.
And you can see up here on the screen, it's 5 satellites
GPS
connected.
good, ready to fly. GPS lost. GPS
And
good,
it'll flip
ready
to
fly.
6 and to
GPS
5.
lost.
And back and
GPS
forth
good,
between
ready
6
to
and
fly.
5, 6 and
GPS
5. So
lost.
it's making the radio
GPS
just
good, ready to fly. GPS
constantly
lost.
complaining.
GPS good, ready to fly. GPS
So there it
lost.
is.
GPS
It's all
good,
working
ready
now.
to fly. GPS
Just needs a
lost.
little fine tuning.
Receiver is still connected.
We'll just shut that down. So there it is. It's working. I'm getting telemetry from the GPS back through the flight controller, through the Crossfire transceiver. They call it a receiver. It isn't. It's a transceiver. It transmits to the radio, and it's getting that GPS info to the radio. Like I say, when I discovered sensors, I picked up 5 new sensors, one of which was the GPS coordinates. So some fine tuning here on the map data that goes into the radio to be displayed, and we should have it. Move on to the next phase in this. Well, we're just going to put more gravy on. I hooked up the airspeed sensor and got it working.
GPS lost.
I hooked it in
GPS good.
to
GPS
the
lost. GPS
bus
good.
on the
GPS lost.
GPS.
Good. GPS
And if you
lost.
look
GPS
here,
good. GPS lost. GPS
God,
good.
I wish that would hush. Thank you. can see right here on my graph on the screen, the bottom graph is the airspeed sensor, and if I blow on the end of it, you can see it goes up. So that's working well. Telemetry radios could be hooked up to this, and then of course 2 cameras and a video transmitter. I guess I'll keep going, but this just keeps getting better and better. Let's see what the GPS says now. 6 satellites, 7 now. Ooh, cool. That'll keep the radio from complaining. If it drops to 5 satellites, it just complains.
GPS lost. GPS good.
But anyway, there it is. Let's see if I can pick up any more telemetry items. Go down. I've got 25. Let's discover new ones. No, not gonna get any more. 24. Stop discovery. You can see right there is 6 satellites, 7 satellites. So what is that? 24 sensors now being picked up in the radio. I like it. Let's see if we go back out. Do we have any new here? No. No, nothing new in there. Nothing really new over here either. Getting some headings, it looks like here.
GPS lost.
Nothing really new there
GPS
either.
good. GPS
Okay,
lost.
well,
GPS good.
I don't know what else I can say. Here's 25 milliwatts on the transmitter.
GPS lost.
Receiver is still connected.
Yes, I know. Set that aside. So, telemetry's working with the radio, and the iNav TX16s wing flight controller is coming along well with all the sensors I expect. It also runs Ardu Pilot, iNav or Ardu Pilot. That's why I chose this. Well, that's all for tonight. It's almost 1:45 till 2 a.m. in the morning.